me do a quick reset. Israel versus IRGC. Pseudo and anti-intellectuals. Welcome. I don't even change that up. That's fine. Hakima, good morning. Larry, good morning. Madeline, good morning. Sabina, I see you, Sabina. Bishop, good morning. Devin, how you doing? Michaela. Guys with the pink tickets, please cash those in. Please us. Hannah, cash in your tickets. I'm going to say something that's polarizing. You may not like it, and you may not cash in your pink tickets. But Healthy Debates is a pro-Israel, pro-Persian room. Always has been, always will be. But everybody's allowed on stage to spew whatever you guys spew. Howard, good morning, Howard.
Oh, hey, Jay. Sorry, I've been having some technical difficulties this morning. As usual, you're hosting an unbelievable, stimulating room. First thing I just want to add, I mean, obviously, war is tragic. But as you pointed out, Jay, I mean, this didn't just start with, hey, let's bomb Iran because they're building a nuclear weapon. It goes way back to Iran sponsoring assassinations, Iran sponsoring Hezbollah, Iran sponsoring Hamas. And, you know, if you think about it, and I'm just putting this in context for those people in the States, I mean, imagine if we just kept getting missiles shot over from either Canada or Mexico or both, and we knew the state that was sponsoring it. Would we just passively at some point just say, oh, that's okay, or that's just part of daily life? You know, this is something that, you know, there's no half pregnant. What Israel's done, there's no, in my opinion, there's no turning back. And I think they will do what they can to force regime change. And the other side of it, from a political standpoint, I also believe the current president, you know, unfortunately for him, he's kind of boxed into a corner. One could argue that perhaps he was led down this path by Netanyahu and others, but he's got like too many mouths to feed or people to placate, whether it's parts of MAGA, whether it's his own, you know, political connections, whether it's Vladimir Putin, whoever you want to say. And I just think that this is a tipping point for him where essentially for the second term, the honeymoon period's over. And, you know, I just don't know ultimately what the final outcome's going to be, but it could parallel ultimately what Nixon had to contend with Vietnam. And I'll land my skylip there. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Howard. Tarun, what did he say that's hateful? I'm curious. You wrote in the chat that he's spreading hate. What is that? What exactly did he say that was hateful? Tarun? Taryn, whatever your name is? Okay, you stay on mute. Sano, I like it. You want to say something, Tarun? Taryn?
Yeah. People shouldn't wish someone else's death because of their religion or what they believe in. And I believe today the regime is probably doing something like that. That's what I wanted to say. Okay.
Okay, thanks for that stimulating comment. Sano, how you doing, Sano?
Hello. I just wanted to add that, of course...
by the way, I like your PTO.
Thank you. I'm Iranian, and but I live in Europe. We hold demonstrations regularly. We've been doing that, especially now. We have held two so far since the current conflict started. And generally, Iranian people, the majority of us, Iranian diaspora, they are pro-Israel and pro-Bibi. You know, we have a song for Bibi. Ahmed Fahd has sung a song for Bibi promoting, and he basically sang it, I think, 3 years ago. And he is calling for Bibi hitting Khamenei. And that is, it is interesting that now it is a reality, something which was in our dream. And I just wanted to say, well, there are some people who say America first, MAGA, but there is also fake MAGA, which are actually IRGC. They opened the room yesterday, and none of them had the American accent. I mean, their English accent was even worse than me, but they claimed to be Americans living in America and pro-America first, and they were promoting anti-Israel propaganda, conspiracy theories, whatnot, and saying, I don't want to die for Israel, stuff like that. Fake MAGA serving Khamenei, serving IRGC. I just wanted to say, from the standpoint of America first, America will be safer with regime change in Iran. Regime change in Iran makes America safe, makes Europe safe. Just look at the tweet of Larijani. You know, these Larijanis are a clan. All of them have top posts in Iranian regime, and they are not even born in Iran. They were born in Iraq. They are Iraqis posing as the Iranians. One of them published a tweet recently, openly, audaciously, threatening Rafal Grossi to assassination. He openly says that we will deal with you, Grossi, after this conflict is over. So when they openly threaten to assassination Rafal Grossi, the UN nuclear watch, head of nuclear watch in the UN, they threaten him to assassination, and probably they did assassinate his predecessor with some radioactive drug because Mr. Yukio Amano, suddenly he got cancer out of the blue. So maybe they assassinated him with some Russian radioactive drugs. That is, I don't know, a guess. So that kind of regime, Europe will be safer, America will be safer if that regime is toppled, and for a safer America, regime change in Iran is essential. And now we are historically very close to that. We should not leave the job unfinished. Finish the job.
Thank you. I agree. Finish the job. You know, if there's any pro-Iranian government people in the room, you're welcome to the stage. I'd love to hear what you have to say. But I don't think you have the balls to come up. But it's amazing to me how we know that this government right now, the IRGC, supports Hezbollah, Hamas, right, the Houthis. So it's not just about freeing the Persian people, which I hope happens, but it's also about giving some peace to that region that historically has no peace. It has to start. Everybody's heard me say for years now, we got to have a regime change in that country for there to be even a chance of peace in that region, right? October 7th wasn't just a fluke. October 7th was because Israel was going to get recognized by Saudi Arabia. And they were like, no, we're not having that. But let me go to Sabina, and then we're gonna go popcorn style. Sabina, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
I got you, Hader. Get Sabina.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, I wanted to make comments on the Trump, the pressure under Trump with the America First people. I don't know if everyone, have you seen the interview with Ted Cruz and sorry, what's his name? Tucker
Carlson, yes.
Yes, yeah. So there's a whole group of people within MAGA who believe America first, and what I think is so confusing is that they make it seem as if America's like Sweden that had like that has been neutral in all the conflicts in the Middle East. It's been in all the conflicts and is still in. And when not Tucker Carlson, Ted Cruz actually said we. Someone got mad at him, like, oh, why are you saying we? Because he said we in terms of Israel and America together, right? And I don't understand what the American First people are trying to do, try to unwind, because Americans involved in the Middle East, it always has been. So to me, I just think it's a bit bizarre that you have this group of people, and now they're attacking Tulsi because Tulsi said that she's seen intel, and by the way, people change their mind, right, based off evidence. That's what rational people do. So she's seen evidence that there are, development of nuclear weapons, and that they can be maybe a few weeks away, right? And so she said, for that reason, I support America, getting involved now. And now people, all those people are now having a backlash, like, this is not our war. No, it is your war, because you played a role in all of these issues. There's a lot of Iranians who even blame America for putting Khomeini in power, right, during Carter's time. So that's all I want to share. I just don't think that the America First thing makes any sense. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabina. Appreciate you. So I'm going to go to Hader. Hader, I called on you 5 times already. You there?
No, I was busy. Sorry about that, man.
Hold on. Butters, you can go after Hader, then we're going to go to Cogito. Yeah, Hader.
Yeah, look. This whole idea of regime change is really suicidal. Okay, I don't think regime change is going to work in Iran. It hasn't worked in Libya. It hasn't worked in Afghanistan. It hasn't worked in Iraq. So we already know the result of what regime change is. Now, people in the audience don't know this. Maybe some of them know, but Iran is not only Persian, right? Persian is about 60%, about 55 to 60%. You have Kurds, you have Azeris, you have Arabs, you have Balojis, you have all these other groups, right? that is beyond Shia and Sunni division in Iran. Right now, if you look at the leadership, it's kind of mixed up. So the supreme leader is actually
Hater. Let me ask you a question. It's a very, very simple question, right?
Yes.
Do you consider this regime in power right now as a murderous regime?
So I'm from the global south. So I'm gonna take the position of the Russian and Chinese government. That's the position I'm going to take. And that position is we do not want to crumble this regime and create refugee and suffering and more suffering, more than this region deserve, right? The Middle East is already in it's a cake basket. It's a cake basket, right? It's basket cake, whatever.
Bro, listen, man. Bro, I'm calling cap on everything you're saying. This government's not only, bro, let me finish, bro. You don't have to beat up. We can have the dialogue. But not only is this government murderous to its own people, they are sponsoring terrorism throughout that region. So when you say I take the side of Russia and China, man, you got to take those blinders off. This regime right here is the main problem in that region, and that's a fact. But please, land your.
No. So what is the alternative? You see, we have to look into the alternative, right? The alternative is a lot worse than what we have right now. Okay, already Viktor Orban, the Hungarian president, already talked to Trump, and he said, you know what? I do not want refugees in my country, dude. The Europeans are now concerned about refugees, right? So they already had enough refugees from Iraq, from Libya, from Syria in the last 15, 20 years. They don't want to deal with that, right? So what the argument, especially the Russian government is making, and to some extent in many countries in the global south, right?
Let me ask you a question respectfully.
Yeah.
Do you hear what you're saying? You support Russia, a terrorist supporter. You support China. You support this IRGC. Do you hear what you're saying?
I don't support Iran. No, I don't support Iran. I think what I'm telling you is the regime is bad, which we already know is bad. But what is the alternative, man? The alternative is going to be civil war, chaos, and refugee migration. Just is going to be death and destruction. Let me
ask you. Okay, and I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to tell you why I disagree with you. That's just my opinion, right? I'm not a geopolitical expert. I'm not one of those pseudo-intellectuals. But what I know of Persian people, let me tell you something. Once this regime is topped, they're probably going to be some of the most united people on this planet because they've been through this shit for 46 years. They're not going to want chaos and civil war. They're not going to flee their country. They're going to rebuild it into the power that it should be. So everything you're saying, I disagree with you wholeheartedly. So hold on, guys. Everybody hold on. Hater, hold on a second because I got so many speakers on stage. So I told Butters, Marsha, I got you, Marsha. I told Butters she can go next. I'm going to go Butters, Marsha, Sarah, and I'll come back around to everybody else. Butters, good morning.
Good morning. I've been listening for a while doing household things. I like the way that you control your stage. Even if there's some bias, you still let people rock and talk. So this is a good segue from what Haydar just was saying. So my question is to any Zionists that are listening, not Jews, Zionists. I'm purposely separating this question, or those that consider themselves Zionists. What has gone on in Syria, that is a regime change that you see, is now led by Al-Qaeda. So at one point, I thought Al-Qaeda was America's not friend. Now, seems like through proxies, we're working with Al-Qaeda and letting certain things happen. I saw Benjamin Netanyahu go and show a map of what was looking like a greater Israel project. And so I want to know, is that the end game for Iran? If there's a regime change, you want to include them in the greater Israel project as a Zionist? And are we supposed to also work with more Al-Qaeda?
Well, let me just say this. Thank you for your compliment on how I run my room. Please cash in your pink ticket. I'm going to I'll let Mickey. Mickey, do you want to answer her question?
Is that person a Zionist?
100% he's a Zionist.
Okay, great.
Mickey, do you want to answer the question?
To be honest, JB, I'm not going to entertain ridiculous.
Okay, any other Zionists want to
Is
answer?
it ridiculous? Why is it ridiculous? Let's find out.
Butters, I got somebody that wants to respond. Marsha, go ahead, Marsha.
Yeah, I can answer her and also Haidar, not as a Zionist, but as a Persian. So what Haidar has said was exactly the propaganda of IRGC. They are telling us for 46 years that if there is a regime change in Iran, then there will be chaos. And they have been telling us during the past years that look at Libya, look at Syria, look at Iraq, this will be the future of you. But that's not the case. But because Iran is no Syria, Iran is no Libya, we are a United Nation. And culturally, we are different from the Arab countries and from Libya, from Iraq, and from Syria. So this thing will never happen in Iran. And the other thing, the fact that you say that I don't support regime change, what do you say to my question? One of the last times that Iranian people came to streets peacefully begging for their freedom, asking for their freedom, the regime and IRGC killed 1,500 of them in 2 days. And according to some reports, up to 3,000 of the people in the streets. Is it not a chaos? What do you call this?
Who is she talking to? Because I asked the question and I thought there was supposed to be somebody who's
okay. Well, hold on. Let me ask you a question before I'll answer your question. But let me ask you this, Sarah. I got you. What is your definition of a Zionist, Butters? What do you think a Zionist is?
Well, my own president, my past president, said you don't have to be Jewish to be one. And then he explained perfectly what exactly that is. And everyone in America has that definition through Biden, which means that they are proud Zionists that are not Jewish. So I was not speaking to anyone necessarily because of their religion. And I think we all here
So a Zionist is somebody who supports Israel's right to exist. That's exactly the definition.
That's not the only portion of it.
Okay, what's the other portion? Then tell me, teach me.
The other portions of being a Zionist has to do with relating biblical things.
That's not true.
How are you going to tell me they do relate biblical things to it? What do you mean? You don't have to be religious to know this.
Okay.
But they pull from biblical things to expose why they would need to be expansive in that region. It's their so-called holy.
So wait. So let me ask you this. So basically, it's Israel went into Gaza because it was about land.
I'm not talking about Gaza, Lev.
Okay.
I'm talking about the Greater Israel Project. So that's what I'd like to, make sure that
your definition is incorrect? What if your definition is incorrect?
Listen,
Amy,
love,
can
it
I
can be
answer
whatever
her?
you want it to be. It can be whatever you want it to be. I don't have a problem with talking about the Greater Israel Project, which is what I came to ask about. Thank you.
Butters. When you say it could be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, because I don't want to argue with him, love.
Okay, you don't have to love. You don't have to argue with him. But here's the thing: when you say something like that, it says to me that no matter what definition he gives, you're not going to accept it anyway.
I never argued with anybody's definition. They're asking me about mine. I told you what I thought, and now that we're on the same page with whatever it may be to everybody, that Greater Israel Project that BB went there with the map and showed, now that there'd be a regime change in the next place that we've moved on to, because our peoples in America sat around and talked about regime change in different. Let me finish, love. Let me finish, love. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to him, and he went there with the map. No, you're wasting your time with your mic open. I'm not talking to you, love. Let me talk to who I'm speaking to. They're listening. You don't have to. Close your ears.
You're lying.
So when he went there with the map, he basically showed what he would like to do. And if there's going to be regime change in Iran, is that going to, my question was, what's next is what Haidar was asking. So what I'm saying is that going to be a part of the game plan?
No,
to
there
put
is no
Al-Qaeda?
Sarah, I got you,
Control your
Sarah.
stage.
But hold on a second, buddy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Put a link in the chat with this Greater Israel Project.
Sure.
Please.
I got you.
I also want to go to Sarah, who I'm sure she's going to push back. Hello, Sarah. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, JB. I actually specifically came on the stage to talk about the part. I don't know people who say if you topple the regime in Iran, there's going to be another Syria, Iraq, Libya. I don't know if they're uneducated or they just, because I've seen some educated people, fall for that propaganda. So I don't know what is why people repeating that. So I actually had to go look the history of Sharia law. I'm not kidding you, because I have no idea what's going on in Libya. Like, I don't care about every country in the world. I had to go look and see what is the common and differences between Iran and these countries and Sharia law and how long Islam has been, part of their government. So Syria, Libya, Iraq, they've had Sharia law since the 7th century. That's over 1,500 years, people. 1,500 years. Of course, it's going to be difficult to remove Islam from the politics in those countries. Iran, on the other hand, they've only had Sharia law, Islam in the government combined in the last 46 years. Iran has a culture of 7,000 years. Iran has been around for 7,000 years. It's always been a monarchy. Now, I don't even support monarchy. But for people to try to use the fact that Libya and Syria and Iraq ended up in civil war, so Iran's going to have the same thing, is the dumbest argument ever. Because look, Iranian people were supporting and were pro-IRGC when they came along. And just imagine how fucked up the whole Sharia law is, that within 46 years, they have lost 90% of their supporters. True or false, they claim their support was like 98% or something like that after revolution. But what happened is people separate themselves. And just look around. Look around. Why do Iranians not go fight Israel? Why do Iranians don't go bomb and kill innocent people? Because Iranians are not associating themselves, and they don't like any of this that IRGC is pushing on them. That's why IRGC goes funds and train in other countries. It's simple as that. So please stop going on different stages and say, oh, we don't want refugees. We don't want this. The other day, someone's like, Iranians are going to come refugees in Pakistan. Look, Iranians might be racist for thinking they're better than other people, but let me be clear about something. Even if there is a war in Iran, no one's going to go try to become a refugee of Pakistan or Russia. I don't know where people come up with all these stupid things.
Thank you, Sarah.
So I just wanted to clarify that. And let me give one.
Can you wait a second till she's finished?
Yeah.
We'll land her plane. Thank you. Sarah, you land your plane?
I was going to say one sentence in Butter's response as an Iranian Zionist. There is no such a thing. Israel is not trying to take over Iran. You guys, this is the propaganda of IRGC, and these people are just going around and spreading it. Just shut the fuck up. Why are Iranians not scared of that?
Shut the fuck up. That was about 15 sentences, but since you're Sarah, I let it go. But before I go to the next speaker, I have to say good morning to my man, King 334 Mob.
Yes, sir. What's
King,
going on, brother? What's going on? Good morning.
Having a very spicy conversation on this Saturday morning. Israel versus IRGC. So I have a question before I go to the next speaker. Yo, Sabina, what's your smoke with Sarah? Sarah's definitely, she's a lot of things, but anti-Semitic. She's, hey, I got you, bro. Show a little mic control. I want to ask Sabina a question. Sabina.
Yeah, JB, she called me anti-Semitic, so I just said the same thing back. Because if she can just call me that, I can just call her right now. Because it doesn't mean anything.
Okay, so you're pulling the pigtails. Got you.
Yeah.
Okay, let me.
She's not a good representative for her own country because she's saying racist stuff. And then look, right now, Whoopi Goldberg was just saying right now, oh, America's very racist. Black people suffer in America, right? And she was saying that about comparing herself to Iran. Let me ask you a question. Why should American, Black, Hispanic, all these groups of people, why should they die for someone who clearly is racist? She literally just said we are superior to Pakistanis. I said you, man. I said you. I didn't say Israel. I said you. JB, can I talk?
Sarah, let her finish.
Okay, so first of all, I didn't mention Israel, right? There are people who are not good representations for their own country, and you're one of them because you just said that, oh, we are not going to become, I wouldn't wish civil war on any country. But for you to say that we're not going to be like those other countries because we're superior to them, you sound like a fucking idiot and racist, by the way.
I didn't say we're superior. I said we have not had Sharia laws in our country for 1,500 years. We've only had it for 40 years. If you want to hear it differently, that's for you. And that's why I call you anti-Semite, because you really are.
Based on what? Based on what?
Based on when I was saying that how Islam is behind all of this, you told me that your friend is looking for a virgin. Do I want to marry him as a fourth wife?
I was trolling her because as soon as she found out, as soon as she said, excuse me, as soon as she, do you hate Muslims? Do you hate Muslims? Do you hate Muslims?
Your name every day. People don't.
Do you hate Muslims?
You are.
Do you hate Muslims? Do you hate Muslims?
Sarah, hold on a second.
No, JB. As soon as you see, look, the language vulgar, gross. This is the problem. As soon as she found out I was Muslim, she started attacking me, and then we went back and forth. But if I respond to her, she decides to say that I'm this and I'm that. She doesn't like Muslims. She looks down on Arabs, and she just asking Israelis and waiting for them to damsel in distress to come save her and cheering them on. You're just a loser and not a good representation for your country.
Well, hold
Racist.
on, everybody, hold on.
It looks like everybody
hold on.
enjoys my point of view, but
Afghani people deserve to be killed, right? According to you,
Let me just
because they're Muslim.
Sabina, hold on a second. Please respect the stage. Thank you. I'm just going to say, listen, Sarah, you got to let me talk, hon. Thank you. So, I've been around Sabina for a few years now. I've never heard her curse before. I'm like sitting there saying, did she just say the F word? I'm shocked. Whatever personal beefs you guys have, please take it to the chat or take it somewhere else. Hold on a second. I want to go to Masha because she's been trying to jump in.
I prefer not to talk to me again. Thank you.
Oh, my bad, Masha. Hader has been waiting, and then I'll come to Masha, then Kojito. Hader, go ahead, Hader.
No, I'm just gonna respond to that particular twisted history. If we're talking about Islam, Persian Empire was the first one that was actually defeated by Muslims in 632 in what is today used to be Ctesiphon, the ancient city of Ctesiphon, what is now Baghdad, right? Before it became Baghdad, that's the history, right? So Islam has been in Persia longer than it's been in Libya.
When did I say Iranians are not Muslim? I said they didn't have Sharia law.
Don't interrupt me, please. Don't interrupt me. Let me finish my point here, right? So I'm not even either Muslim, Christian, or Jew, or either none of this. But the point I'm talking about here is this, right? So that's that, right? So even Islam, so if we're talking about Syria, there's no record of showing Syria being a true Muslim country since the since the Ottoman, right? After the Ottoman, basically Syria was pretty much a clusterfuck place itself. It became the French autonomous area, and then later on was taken over by a king assassinated by the Assad family, right? So let's not just rewrite history. Let's just say.
Also, do not call the Kurds Persians. We're not Persians. We Kurdish people are definitely not Persians.
Okay.
That's what she called you. Yeah, that's what she called you.
Guys. Hater, I know you hear my voice. So here's how we're going to do it. And if somebody's speaking and somebody else comes off a mic, I'm just going to move you down to the audience. Because now it's getting too confusing. Listen, I get it. Sarah gets really hot. Marsha, I got you. Sarah gets really hot and she stands on her square. But we need to show a little decorum so we can have the conversation. Marsha, I'm going to go to Marsha, then Kajito, then Sharif, and then Shipwrecked and Doctor. Marsha, go ahead.
Okay, so I think the discussion went in the wrong direction. So it's not about the religion. It's not about the Jews and Muslims. So when we say that we are happy that about this war between Mullah's regime and Israel, we are talking about fighting against terrorism. We are talking about this ideology that announces jihad and war against Jews and against pagans and against what other people that they can put any label or etiquette on them. So please be careful about this, first of all. So we are talking about terrorism and humanity. And the other thing, so I think Sarah didn't want to say that Iranians or Persians are superior. So that's not the fact, actually. So you should know that culturally, there are too many differences between Iranians and other nations living around them, the Arab neighbors and other countries around them. And if you don't know this difference, then you will fall to the trap of the IRGC propaganda that has been saying throughout all these 46 years that look at the future of the look at the presence of Libyan, look at the presence of Iraq and Syria, and that will be your future if you look for regime change. But that's not the case if you know the cultural difference between Iranians and other countries. So it is not about the religion or these kind of things and superiority. So don't fall to this trap, please.
Thank you, Masha. We're going to go to Cogito. How do you say your name, Cogito? Cogito?
Cogito.
Cogito. My apologies. I'm just a dummy from
By the way, Dave, I put the links in the chat for you so you can look at those things while you're talking.
I definitely will. Hey, Butters, I'm going to tell you right now. Somebody just came into the room. He's on the stage. He's gonna bring it to you. And that's my man, El Normal. But let me go to this gentleman.
Normal are friends.
Okay. Let me go to this gentleman. Go ahead, man. You were saying?
Yeah. So I think like there's some confusion going on, and I think like when it comes to Israel and Iran, I think like people tend to think about it in a more religious act, and I get it, like it's tied politically, but I think like before 1979, they had Israel and Iran, they were cordial. And the reason why, after the revolution, everything went to shit, and that was because Iran didn't like the way the Western world was like handling the situation, and that's because of Shah. He was kind of like pressure from the U.S. and U.K. and they're like signing oil agreements and things like that. And after the revolution, when Shah fled, everything, went to shit on terms of the relations between Iran and the U.S. So Israel is now backed. Well, they've been backed by the UK and US, and Israel more so. They weren't on attack against Israel at all, right? And I believe the reason why Israel attacked Iran was due to the fact of the backing of Hamas. And when it becomes between Palestinian people and Israel, that's a whole different story. That's the battle of the land, right? And I think between those two, there was a shadow war going on, and Hamas is playing between Palestine and Iran, and this is who Israel is actually trying to target. But at the very same time, again, Iran. They don't like people that is backed behind the the U.S. policies or the UK. So they have that sense of hate due to that. And I don't think I don't think it is about this religious thing. But I'll leave it there.
Thank you. I know it's about land. It's always about the land, guys. We want the land. So I'm going to engage a conversation right now before I go to the next speaker. El Normal, good morning.
Hey there. Good morning to you.
So this young lady, Butters, nice PTR, by the way, has a question for the Zionists. And I know that you're probably the biggest Zionist on this app. So, Butters, would you like to have the conversation with El Normal?
Oh, I've done this with El Normal before. El Normal, so basically I'm just asking, when the regime change happens in Iran, would anybody who's a Zionist be interested in expanding the Greater Israel Project in that direction?
Your question is based on two false assumptions. Number one, that regime change is inevitable, or that Israel has the power to effect it. And two, that there is such a thing as the Greater Israel Project. I'm unaware of such a thing. I think this is yet another example of a blood libel against Israel. I'm not going to be long, my dear.
No, I'm just saying, why would you say that that's not true, though? They all talk about it.
Give me 1 sec. Hold your questions for the end. I won't be long. So, number two, the idea of this Greater Israel Project is a blood libel A blood libel is a lie that is used to justify killing Jews. For example, this genocide thing that people accuse Israel of is a lie and a blood libel. Israel has neither the desire nor the plan to commit any kind of genocide. That would be a horrific thing. We invented the word. In fact, it means killing a tribe. We're not destroying the Palestinians. We're getting rid of Hamas. We're at war. They could stop the war by surrendering and giving up our hostages, which they're still holding. Similarly, Israel is not an expansionist country. In fact, when our enemies attack us and we take land, as is our right, when they attack us, we are willing to return the land in exchange for peace. And we did so with Egypt when we took the Sinai, which made Israel 1/3 bigger. That was in the 1967 war. In 1978 at Camp David with Jimmy Carter, we gave the Sinai back to Egypt in exchange for peace. We offered Syria the same thing with the Golan Heights, which we took when they attacked us from the north. So no, there is no greater Israel project. It is a blood libel used to call us, I don't know what, expansionist, imperialist, colonialist. We are none of those things. We are a decolonial power. Now your question, if you would like, my dear.
I mean, you already put all of the expose of the farce on display right now. Thanks.
I'm unaware of any farce. What is the farce that you refer to?
Where did the concept of the Greater Israel conversation, when did that start? Who began that? Since it doesn't exist.
Since you brought it up, I'd have to say you.
Okay, so you never heard about that through the World Zionist Congress at all?
No.
Oh, okay. Sure.
What are you referring to? Why don't, on the other hand, you provide...
Is there such a thing as a World Zionist Congress?
Hang on, ma'am. Hang on. Why don't you give us now, since you raised this in the conversation...
I already put it in the chat. You came late.
Yes.
So look at what
I wrote in the chat. I'm not late for anything. I'm here